WRDI, Napanee, South Bend, Elkhart. Welcome home to your family of faith.
Live from the Redeemer Radio 95.7 studios in the shadows of the Golden Dome, this is Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays.
After not playing each other last year for the first time since 1926, the annual meeting between Notre Dame and Navy is back today at Notre Dame Stadium for the 94th all-time meeting. Kickoff is set for 3:30 p.m. Notre Dame dominates the all-time series, but we all remember 2007, 2009, 2010, 2016 when the Mids stunned the Irish. But this isn't that same Navy team. They're just 2-6, so Notre Dame should win without too much trouble today unless, well, 2021 proves to be the season that it has, and you just never know what to expect. But even if they do, what does that mean for the Irish rest of the season as they sit at number 10 in the first college football playoff rankings? Welcome to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays. Notre Dame FCU, where you bank does matter. Angel DiCarlo alongside Kevin Downey, Ilya Glasman on the other side of the glass. Notre Dame defeating North Carolina last week 44-34 to improve to 7-1 in the season. Now, I picked North Carolina to win the game, but I just didn't think Notre Dame would have an answer for Sam Howell. The Irish did not, but North Carolina also did not have an answer for Kyron Williams and Jack Cohn as the Irish win by 10. This was the game I thought it was going to be. I just didn't know in the end whether or not North Carolina would end up with more points, and they didn't, and Notre Dame was able to show their offense was just a little bit better. But what were your thoughts, Kevin, on the game as you looked at it?
Yeah, I think the offense for Notre Dame definitely stepped up. I mean, Kyron, that huge run was just awesome. I think that we talked about his energy and everything, not just the stats or, looking at him as a team leader. I thought that was great, and it really seems like their offensive line is gradually getting better. For sure, the timing, I mean, it's not like, they're giving up all the sacks that they were early in the season. So, yeah, I think the offense for Notre Dame is starting to come together.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I have. Is Notre Dame's offense better, or the defenses they playing stink? And vice versa. Is Notre Dame's defense not very good, or are the offenses they've been playing much better? Ilya, what's your initial thoughts on coming out of North Carolina and heading into this stretch run, final 4 games of the regular season?
Well, to answer your question, is the Notre Dame offense getting better or are the defense getting worse? I'm going to pull a Kevin here. I'm going to say it's actually both. I'm going to say it's both.
Lame.
It's a little bit of both because I was at the game and I was sitting just right above the visitors' locker room. So, for an example, that Jack Cohn touchdown run from 21 yards, he ran straight to me basically, and the thing that
when did he start running during our show, and then he got there by the time. Sorry, John.
But the biggest thing that I noticed was how big that hole was, because those two offensive linemen on the what would be the right hand side, like they were just like, it was a huge hole. It was one of the biggest holes I've seen. I mean, like a whole cattle could run through that, and so it was just the offense. Yes, they're getting better now. To give Notre Dame some credit, North Carolina and USC, like, they still have a ton of talent on on their roster. So, like I said, I think it's just a little bit of both, But let's just hope that we could keep building on this, especially today when we play Navy.
All right, on tap on this morning's show, our featured interview today with Digger Phelps. Look, we've heard Digger talk about beating the 88-game win streak over UCLA enough over the years, right? So we went outside the box, let him give some other faith-filled stories. He gives a lot of Father Ted stories, his favorite spots on campus that he likes to go to that probably are places most listening don't even realize exist. The hidden gems of Notre Dame campus. And then he also gives his excitement for Muffin McGraw going in the Ring of Honor. We will break down the matchup with Navy and how you're going from high tempo to milk the clock to high tempo in consecutive weeks. New Prairie alum Chase Ketterer has played the role of the Navy quarterback all year in practice. We hear from Chase on his role helping the team next segment. Does Notre Dame have a shot to make the playoff? Is the Irish offense we've talked about good now, or the defense is playing bad? We're going to get into all this. This is what I like to call the open flow first segment. We're just going to see where we go. Let's start with the latest on the Irish injuries. Chris Tyree, honestly, no one asked a follow-up on Thursday about Tyree specifically, so I'm not exactly sure if Tyree's back. He played the most unusual role I've ever seen, Mr. Fair Catch. He never ran the ball out, and he never played on offense. So you're like, is he okay? I mean, like, if the ball would have came down at the 4-yard line, was he going to return it? I don't know what was going to happen there. So we'll see. He's battling turf toe. We'll see if he's back today. The early indication was that he was going to be, but you never know in these things. Braden Lindsey was back practicing after having a concussion. He is expected to play today. Good news, top line freshman tight end prospect Kevin Bauman back after missing a long time. He will play special teams today. Blake Fisher ahead of schedule. Not going to play now. Maybe he gets in for a bowl game, they said. And then safety Kyle Hamilton is out again today after getting injured versus USC. Hamilton had another procedure earlier this week. Kelly's saying Virginia is the potential return date. That's where they have targeted it. And Kelly was asked specifically, if Kyle Hamilton's knee is good to go, if he's healthy, do you expect him to play again this year? And Kelly said yes. But define, is his knee healthy, right? It's like this is the Jalen Smith factor you're at now.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's worth it for a guy who's projected to be a top 10 pick to come back and risk the possibility of hurting that knee more and then dropping out from being a top 10 pick. I mean, you're talking about...
Don't take this wrong, but I don't think coming back for Navy is a wise decision. I
Right.
think that's pretty prudent
Right.
to hold him out for that.
Right, but the question is, does he come back next week against Virginia? Does he come back against Georgia Tech? Does he come back against Stanford? Or does he not? And here's the other question. Well, first of all, I don't know if he will or will not. I understand why he wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think 5 years ago, I would have been like, this is ridiculous. But then I think when I was there, and I saw what happened to Jalen Smith, and then you see Jalen Smith lose $30 million on a contract, look, I get it. You know, if you're undefeated right now, I would be like, no, you got to come back.
Well, yeah, I guess I was thinking that has to play into it. Like if Notre Dame rises in the ranks,
But they're not going to – I mean, we're going to get
maybe.
into that in a second.
But, if the team keeps winning and they have a chance for something special, then I think you're more likely to see him. If for some reason they, start to lose a couple games –
well,
yeah,
even if they
you're
win
Kyle.
and they just hang around 8 or 9, that might not just be a reason enough to come back. And here's the other question. Do they need Kyle Hamilton to win these last 4 games?
Ooh, interesting.
I mean,
Well,
did you see
he's
what
your
happened
best
to
player. They're going to be better.
Did
with
you
them
see
on
what
the
happened
field.
to Stanford last night?
No.
They got annihilated by Utah. I don't even know what the final score was. Did you see what the final score was, Ilya?
It was 55-7. The great stat from that game was Utah had more points in the first half than Stanford did total yards.
Yeah, it was 38-0 at halftime. I mean,
Well, maybe that goes into play too.
I don't know how Stanford beat. They are the ones that beat Oregon, right? I mean,
yeah, but their starting quarterback Tanner McKee has been out for a couple weeks.
See,
There
this
it
is
is.
what we
There's
have
a
Ilya
reason.
here for.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. Now Virginia can score like 100. I kid, but I mean their score against BYU was nuts. But their defense stinks. It's
Yeah.
like a replica of the North Carolina game, just that the offense is even better and the defense is even worse. So I don't know if they will lose a game without him. So again, do you risk it? Now I think you kind of would want him next week against Virginia because now again we don't know if their quarterback's back. I think he maybe broke a rib against BYU, and they have a bye week today, so you're not going to know for sure. So it's hard to imagine whether or not he decides to come back or not. And I get it. I mean, Kevin, I'm sure when you were coaching, when you were at Ball State, that was unheard of, right?
Right.
If you're ready to go, you're playing.
Going, yeah.
But it's a different era now, and
Totally.
and I think we understand that there's different things on the line for these guys.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, the Jalen Smith thing with literally millions of dollars being lost to that guy. And then look how his career's playing out. Like, there's only so much time you get to play football.
Right.
And you only get so many snaps. So, I guess.
And he just got cut again by the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, I was stunned when he got cut by the Cowboys and now Jalen getting cut by the Packers. And you just wonder if he got to a certain level, but obviously I'm assuming that he's just not the same player he has ever been. and it's hard for me to evaluate that.
Yeah.
Those coaches are the ones that be able to see that. All right. By the way, Notre Dame Navy 2023 will be played in Ireland to open the season. You bringing the 11 over for that game?
A little plane trip.
Plane. You guys could
Just get the family together.
Yeah, I mean, you guys could just bring.
It'd probably be cheaper to take a boat for my crew. 11 people.
Yeah, or just get the whole extended family, and you guys could just rent out a plane. You know, you get
That's
your
true.
wife's whole side of the family, and you guys got 150 just immediate, and you
Yeah.
can go. Last year's game was supposed to be in Dublin, was wiped out because of COVID. By the way. I mean, we're not going to talk too much about Navy in this show. We're going to talk about it at the end. They're 2-6.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost to Marshall 49-7 in week 1. Now, the flip side of that is they only lost to Cincinnati by 7 2 weeks ago.
That was a close game.
They lost to SMU by 7, Houston by 7. So they've been in close games.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, they're just not – they're not that good.
Well, the Tulsa game, too. That was close.
Yeah,
They
that
won
was their win
20-17.
last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how good they are here today. We mentioned Virginia, we mentioned Stanford, but I just don't know how good Navy is going to be. All right, college football playoff rankings. Let's talk a little bit about this. Notre Dame comes in at number 10. I'm not overly surprised. I think the big surprise was, man, did they screw Cincinnati?
Yeah.
I mean, they come in at 6, and the bottom line is until this field is expanded, there's just this committee is just not going to let a group of 5 get into the top 4. I just can't believe they put Cincinnati at 6.
Well, because they were ranked at 2 for a long,
and we
long
know,
time.
and now that you watch, the AP ranking will come out tomorrow, and Cincinnati will
flip
magically be like 5.
Yeah.
They'll find a way of readjusting that. We were talking about this before the show. Ilya goes, well, I think this hurts Notre Dame because, it's not a quality loss. The committee does not care about quality losses. They just simply don't. I'm sure there's some minor factor. In a way, this may be better for Notre Dame. I know that sounds crazy, but if Cincinnati was sitting at number 2, Cincinnati would have to lose 2 games before Notre Dame would jump in the rankings. I think if Cincinnati lost once right now, Notre Dame would jump ahead of them because they're Cincinnati and Notre Dame is Notre Dame. The problem for Notre Dame is, and problem for Cincinnati is Oklahoma's 8-0 and behind Cincinnati, and they're going to jump them if they win out.
Yep.
I don't know if I see a path for Notre Dame to the playoff unless absolute chaos happens.
Which could happen.
Oh, yeah. This season there's chaos, but it's also possible Alabama sitting there at number 2 could lose to Georgia by 3 points in the SEC championship game and still make the playoff.
Yeah, no, they could. Bama's really, really, I guess, good and consistently good, and right, wrong, or indifferent. They get a little bit different pass than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, they do. And look, here's Notre Dame's path to the playoff. Wisconsin continues winning all the way, and they win the Big Ten championship. They beat Ohio State.
No, Ohio State and Michigan State.
They win the Big Ten championship. They win the title game. And then Notre Dame's then they'll have a top 15 win, and the Big Ten probably doesn't make the playoff, and Notre Dame can sneak in. Ilya, what's your thoughts? I think that's the best chance for Notre Dame to make it in. And that's not a very good opportunity.
I would agree with you. No, it's not. So that's why my answer is going to be there's no chance at Notre Dame to make the playoff.
Like 2%.
There's none, absolutely, after these rankings come out. And Alabama sitting at number 2 with a loss, which is, I think, absolutely absurd. I know people are saying, it's going to play out eventually with Auburn and Alabama and Georgia, however that plays out. But I just still think that a one-loss Alabama team sitting at number 2 is absolutely absurd.
And I'm stunned. Oregon, one-loss Pac-12 team, is sitting at number 4.
Yeah.
I would.
They do have the best win
undefeated.
in college football.
Yes, they have the best win, but they also lost to Stanford, who's just not good. All right, let me ask you this question. Let's assume Notre Dame wins out. They do not make the playoff. You have the 9 teams there ahead of them: Georgia, Bama, Michigan State, Oregon, Ohio State, Cincinnati, Michigan, Oklahoma, Wake Forest. We have no idea how everything will play out. Out of those 9 teams, who would you most want to see Notre Dame play in a New Year's Six bowl game if Notre Dame won out and then didn't make the playoff? Who would you most want to see them play? Anybody?
I would want to see that rematch with Cincinnati. I think that would be.
I'm not a big rematch guy.
I'm not a
Go
big
Michigan.
rematch guy either.
You know the
just
kind of
for the traditional
storylines I
deal.
would bring, especially if Notre Dame were to win that game. I think a lot of people
What does it matter? They're gonna just be like, oh, they beat Cincinnati.
No, but I mean, like, I'm talking about even before, or I mean, before
build-up.
going into the game, because Notre Dame is playing a lot better than they were when they faced
Yeah.
Cincinnati. Cincinnati isn't playing
They're not
as
gonna
well.
do a rematch. They're not
Or
gonna do a rematch.
Michigan. If it's
Yeah,
not Cincinnati, Michigan.
Well, my
Yeah,
number one is
Michigan
Michigan.
State.
Michigan State. I think you go Michigan State. Then after that, it gets interesting.
Do they have any like tie-ins with Wake Forest that they have to do?
Well, the most likely scenario is, depending on the way the stuff would pan out, they likely would end up playing Wake Forest in the Peach Bowl. That's the most likely scenario. But let's just ignore that possibility. Okay, but to my point is, who would you not want them to face? Worst case scenario, I absolutely no chance I want them to face this team. Go ahead.
Bama.
Yeah, Alabama.
What, you want them to face Georgia?
But they're unfairly
Well,
ranked high.
Georgia, if they win out the regular season, they're in. It doesn't matter what happens in the conference championship, they're in.
Right, but well, actually, you know what? Well, okay, so they would the case for Georgia would be they have to get upset and then they lose to Bama
or Auburn, who they already beat.
Well, I'm saying, but if they lose 2 games, they lose the conference championship and a regular season game, then they're out of the playoff.
Right, but that's impossible.
Unlikely.
At this
I don't know if
point.
it's impossible, but it's unlikely. All right, but I'm saying, what about Ohio State? I don't know if I would want to see. That would be interesting.
I would want to face Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State is all that good.
It'd be interesting to play them when you play them first game of the season next year. That would make it real intriguing in that regard. I don't know how you play that out. Do you roll Buckner out and go, here you go, let them see them, but also you got to see them. Interesting. In terms of, I would assume Wake Forest is the team you least want them to see in terms of like this gets you real excited.
Entertainment value.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind an undefeated Wake Forest team.
The reason why I would go against Wake Forest is because you're getting no credit if you beat them.
Yeah.
And if you lose to them, oh gosh, that's not going to go over well.
We just had a lot of ACC football last year too.
Yeah.
So that was my.
I'll go Michigan, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Oregon as my top 4 of.
Yeah.
I think it would be
Michigan
fun
State.
to see him play Oklahoma. I don't
True.
know.
Oregon. I can't remember the last time they played them. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be good. All right. Let's pay some bills. Notre Dame Federal Credit Union has been serving the Notre Dame community for over 80 years. Get a debit or credit card from Notre Dame FCU and take a little bit of Notre Dame with you wherever you go. Member-owned, not-for-profit banking is the way to go. You raise share our values. Why not share in our benefits? Notre Dame Federal Credit Union. And special congrats to Notre Dame FCU on being named Michiana's best financial institution, best investment firm, and best mortgage lender in the South Bend Tribune's Best of the Best Awards. Okay, we'll make this quick. We kind of touched on it. Is Notre Dame's offense good now, or are the defenses they are playing bad, Kevin?
I'd give them credit. I think that they're getting better and better. It is like an up and down year. You can't tell. Well, this team did this against that, team. I think that their offense is getting better.
I think their offense is getting better, but I do think the defenses they've been playing have been atrocious. So I think Notre Dame is getting better, but they're getting better because North Carolina
So
and USC.
Toledo's defense is stronger than USC's?
Maybe.
Well, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin,
UNC, or North Carolina, I guess.
Wisconsin, they didn't score points.
Sometimes your points take a little bit for me to warm up to.
Hold on. Wisconsin, they didn't score points against. Remember, they had 2 pick sixes and a special teams touchdown. So it's not like the offense scored in that game. All right. How about this one? How about Notre Dame's defense? You worried?
I think they're getting better. For them against Navy, I would say, yeah. I think they're going to score enough points. Notre Dame will score enough points to win big, so it's not going to be an issue. But with a new defensive coordinator, Navy's an odd scheme. At times with different kind of overloaded or bizarre formations, Notre Dame's had trouble adjusting like when Cincinnati. So again, watching Cincinnati versus Navy, they went to like a 4-4, which is, and other defense coordinators have done that in the past for Notre Dame, have just a Navy defense. So I don't know. I mean, that'll be the interesting thing. I think how Notre Dame's just today, to keep it really simple, how Notre Dame's defense adjusts to Navy and staying healthy, and then also special teams. But I think they're getting better. I mean, I was pretty down on them early in the year.
Well, it also helps that Marcus Freeman previously coached at Cincinnati, who was in the same conference as Navy.
Played him twice.
Yeah,
this
good
won't
point.
be the first time that he's seen Navy.
Yeah, he played him twice, so that does help. And Brian
Totally.
Kelly said that. Did he have to ask about his scheme against Navy in the interview process? He
Yeah.
said no,
Oh.
because he played him already. But had he not played him,
Yeah, that has to be part of it.
If he not
You
played him,
can't
he
get
goes
embarrassed
absolutely.
by an
It's a
academy.
yeah, it's absolutely one of the questions. But since he had played him, he said
That's a good point.
he didn't need to ask it. All right, we'll get more into the Navy breakdown coming up a little bit later in the show. Big thank you to Tyrac for all the support of our internship program that we run with students from St. Joseph and Marian High Schools here in Michiana. The students receive practical college-level internship experience helping out with our broadcast of high school football. Wouldn't be possible without the underwriting support from the folks at Tyrac. No surprise, Tyrac named the best tire center in Michiana and the South Bend Tribune's Best of the Best awards. More tires, great prices. Visit TireRack.com. All right, still to come. Again, more in-depth on Navy and the problems they bring. Digger Phelps is our special guest interview today. And up next, New Prairie alum Chase Ketterer has the job of preparing the Irish defense for Navy. He's a scout team quarterback. Hear from him next on Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays.
Elevate 150 financial checkups at Notre Dame Federal Credit Union. Here's how it works. Go online and schedule a 30-minute phone call. They'll guide you through your credit report to find ways to improve your financial health. Then they'll send $150 in your name to Redeemer Radio. For information, visit NotreDameFCU.com/elevate. You already share our values. Why not share in our benefits? Notre Dame FCU.
Support for programming on Redeemer Radio is provided by the DeNicola Center for Ethics and Culture at the University of Notre Dame. The DeNicola Center is committed to sharing the richness of the Catholic moral and intellectual tradition, both on campus and in the wider public square. Learn more about the DeNicola Center and see our schedule of upcoming conferences, lectures, and events at ethicscenter.nd.edu.
Elkhart Bedding believes a good mattress is the key to a good night's sleep, and as a factory outlet, they can save you money too. Elkhart Bedding has been family run and locally owned for more than 100 years, and they believe in giving back to our community. That's why Elkhart Bedding supports Catholic entities like Redeemer Radio and the Apostolate of Divine Mercy in South Bend, and hopes you will too. Elkhart Bedding is located at 2124 Sterling Avenue in Elkhart or at elkhartbedding.com.
Are you struggling to make ends meet or know someone who is? Let the St. Vincent de Paul Society help. From food to clothing vouchers, financial assistance, and even beds for children, the St. Vincent de Paul Society has been helping the community since 1904. Programs are available to residents of St. Joseph County at no cost. For more information, call 574-234-6000 or visit our website at svdpsb.org.
Congratulations to Dwenger, Marion, and St. Joe on winning sectional championships last night. Lures upset by Eastside, so they were taken down. So, I'm sorry,
St. Joe?
I'm sorry, St. Joe did not win. I don't know. I'm spacing.
Sorry.
I was thinking about New Prairie. New Prairie.
You
won.
were there. I know.
I
It
was
late
at the
night.
game. It was a late night, and I was thinking about New Prairie because we're going to talk about Chase Ketterer. That was the lead-in, and I screwed it all up. So congratulations to Dwenger in Fort Wayne, Marion here in Michiana for winning sectional championships.
Unfortunately, not St. Joe.
St. Joe did not win. They lost to New Prairie. New Prairie, very good program. And, of course, their former quarterback is Chase Ketterer, now a sophomore at Notre Dame. He ran the triple option under Russ Radke for a long time. And that was one of the things that Brian Kelly liked about him. So he is the scout team quarterback for Notre Dame, preparing. He basically plays the role of the Navy quarterback. And he does an excellent job there. And it's kind of neat, Kevin, that Brian Kelly first caught eyes on Chase Ketterer because Kelly's at the game.
Yeah,
for
watching his
Watching his son
son.
Kenzel play for St. Joe against New Prairie a couple years back, and he's like,
Hey,
this guy's pretty good.
Especially at running the option.
Yeah, and he was also watching Hunter Whitenack, who is committed to Illinois. I did an interview with that kid after the game last night.
He's a big guy.
Holy cow, is he huge. He is massive.
Now, I did meet him when he was a freshman, and I was like, wow,
you're
a large human.
He was big back then. Anyway, Chase, a phenomenal high school football player. I mean, he was outstanding running that option. I mean, look at the numbers that he had. 5,500 yards rushing.
That's crazy.
98 touchdowns in his 3 years as New Prairie starting quarterback. He also threw 17 touchdown passes. Ketterer, they prepare for Navy pretty much all year. Maybe not necessarily like during the week, but they do it a lot in the summer during training camp. They do it on the bye week. They might sprinkle something in a little bit during the season. And here's what defensive lineman Jason Adamiola said when asked this week how important Chase Ketterer is to helping prepare the Notre Dame defense for Navy.
Very, very important. I'm not sure, but Chase might have ran this offense in high school, and he's super athletic. He's very, very tough, and we was hitting him today. So he's super physical. He was getting up there, running the offense, and he just loves it. Like, he's one of the guys that, like, he makes me happy to be out there and practice and on the practice field because he's running that scout team. He's like a captain of the scout team. Everybody respects him. If he's telling you what to do, you're going to listen, and everybody's out there trying to just get better.
That's great when you're
really cool.
When you're hearing that from a star player like Jason Adamiola about Chase Ketterer, that shows you right there how important that player is.
Well, and the triple option is really tough to simulate in practice.
Yeah.
So
you got to have some.
The worst things, you got to be able to flow and have pursuit and be able to play fullback to quarterback to pitch. But like he said, to be able to actually hit the scout team quarterback. I mean, there's years where, you practice running by him and then you get in a game and your kids run by him. Like it's a different angle. It's a whole different kind of setup, a whole different way to defend, especially now the more and more spread that you face, the more odd, that becomes. I mean, again, Notre Dame defense stopping the fullback, that'll be interesting. I'm sure they can do it. It's not like it's a matchup deal. It's just assignment football. And, again, Navy's coach is pretty smart.
All right. I also had a chance to chat with Chase about his role not only this week but his time at Notre Dame as a whole. Here's that interview. How much does your experience at New Prairie help you in this role, in this position that you're in?
I think it helps me a lot. I mean, I've been running triple option since I was probably in 5th grade. So, I mean, I kind of know it like the back of my hand a little bit. So, reading guys, it's definitely a little different here with, everybody being fast, and you have Isaiah Foskey's coming off the edge and stuff like that. But I think it definitely helps.
And then beyond just this week, having, Coach Kelly said the last few weeks you've been very critical on scout team as a whole. Having that role and that responsibility of preparing the defense, how important is that to you, and how seriously do you take that?
I take it very seriously. I mean, I think most of the walk-ons here really do. I mean, it's different from being in high school and then you come here and being on scout team. It's definitely different, but I think all of us take pride in, not necessarily getting in the game on Saturdays, but being a part of the win by helping the team during the week.
What made you decide this made sense for you to come here, be a scout team guy, as opposed to, go somewhere else where you may have an opportunity to play?
Yeah. I mean, it was really, I'm from here, hometown kid, so I mean, Notre Dame, always watching them growing up. So I think that was a big part of it. I mean, the education here, getting to come to school at Notre Dame, something you really, don't get anywhere else. So I had to take the opportunity.
How has your experience at Notre Dame, obviously you're still young, just a sophomore, but how has your experience at Notre Dame, kind of changed you as a player and a person?
It's changed me a lot. I feel like I've matured, 5 years in the matter of like 2. So it's like a job here. It's different than high school. You have a strict schedule. You got to be there. You got to be ready. So it's really prepares you for more than just football. I mean, life after football. It's like a job here. So I think it's really matured me.
Have you had a chance to leapfrog anyone?
Nope, not yet. I don't think if I did that in practice, I think some things might be said to me.
He leapfrogged Mishawaka in a game a couple of years back, so that's
Okay.
why I had to ask him that one. But it's cool to hear give an opportunity for the walk-ons to chat, especially a local kid, and you could tell how much. I mean, you couldn't see it, but when he's actually answering the question about why he chose Notre Dame, he's like, "It's Notre. Like I'm a hometown kid. This is like his smile was so massive as he was answering that." Which is really neat. He had an offer from Valparaiso. He could have played 1AA, but and it takes a lot, Kevin. You know how this is.
Oh yeah, no, scout team's pretty tough. Well, and then the respect that he gets from the starters. So to say that he's like a scout team captain,
that means a lot.
That's a lot, especially if he's a sophomore. I mean, it's not like a guy that's been there 4 or 5 years. That's impressive.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's hard because the position he plays. If he was at another position, I think he'd get a chance to maybe actually play as a senior because he's that much of an athlete. I don't know where that role would be because it would be kind of hard, especially since right now he'd probably be like Buckner. What I mean? It would be like he would be the runner back there. So I mean, I guess you would expect him more as a safety, but
we're a special teams player,
right? And maybe that's what he ends up being, a special teams guy. But he is a very good athlete, and it's great to see him succeeding, and we're really excited for him. And I
and the local guys. That's always cool.
And as much as I gave Notre Dame a lot of trash for sending walk-ons out at the last minute, I appreciate they sent this walk-on out. They sent one of the local kids, so we're happy about that. All right, still to come, what will Navy look like with their quarterback running the show against Notre Dame? And up next, my interview with former Notre Dame men's basketball coach, the legendary Digger Phelps. Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays. Back right after this.
We know you like football. So do we. We're TireRack.com, and this is our version of a 2-minute drill, except it's only 30 seconds. TireRack.com has an enormous selection of tires. Not sure which ones to buy? Use our Tire Decision Guide to find the right tires for your vehicle and the way you drive. Then get them shipped fast and free on all orders over $50. Shipping is in as little as 1 day. Free. TireRack.com ships to independent, recommended installers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Touchdown!
Hi, this is Angelo DiCarlo. By now, I'm sure you've heard the commercials about Elevate 150 from Notre Dame Federal Credit Union. My wife and I took part in the free financial checkup and got Redeemer Radio $150, so pretty awesome there. But we also got a lot more. Notre Dame FCU helped us out with a bunch of items that we have been pushing off for a while. Now we're in a much better position financially thanks to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union. Now it's your chance for better financial health. Sign up for a free checkup at NotreDameFCU.com/elevate.
Did you know that 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer by the age of 70? Skin cancer is the most common form of cancer, and it's mainly caused by sunshine. And even though the sun only seems to be working part-time now that cold weather's here, you may still have skin cancer developing in areas of sun exposure. If you notice a spot that looks different than anything else on your skin, or a non-healing sore that lasts more than a month, see a dermatologist. Such areas could be skin cancer. I'm Dr. Tom McGovern, skin cancer and reconstructive surgeon practicing at Fort Wayne Dermatology now for over 20 years. I've treated over 30,000 skin cancers with Mohs surgery, an outpatient procedure that provides a 99% cure rate for new basal cell skin cancers. If you have skin cancer, my compassionate and skilled team at Fort Wayne Dermatology would be privileged to care for you.
Join Bishop Kevin Rhodes Wednesdays at noon for a new episode of Truth and Charity. Each week, he has a conversation with host Kyle Hyman about Scripture, the lives of the saints, and issues affecting Catholics today. Listen to episodes anytime by going to RedeemerRadio.com or search for Truth and Charity on the Apple, Google, or Spotify podcast apps. Then share your favorite with a friend. Truth and Charity with Bishop Rhodes is brought to you in part by Notre Dame Federal Credit Union.
Welcome back on Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays. Angelo DiCarlo, Kevin Downey, Ilya Glasman with you here. Time for our feature interview, and it's with Digger Phelps, the Notre Dame men's basketball coach from 1971 to 1991, led the Irish to its only ever Final Four appearance in men's basketball in 1978, defeated 7 number 1 ranked teams, including, of course, ending the 88-game win streak of UCLA in 1974. But We've heard those stories so much over the years. So when I spoke to Digger this week, I wanted to pick his brain on other topics. He's been at Notre Dame now 50 years. Not many still alive today knew Father Ted Hesburgh so well, and as well as Digger Phelps. So we discuss a lot about Father Ted, and Digger shares some of his favorite spots on campus. Here's my conversation with the one-of-the-kind Digger Phelps. Well, haven't gotten to talk to you in a while, but not that long ago you turned 80. How? Tell us how you're feeling these days, how you're doing, and how you've been keeping yourself busy.
Well, age is a number, and 80 is just one of those numbers. But obviously, you reach that point, you move forward, and try to get through the next decade, so to speak. But I'm healthy, everything's fine, and I just stay busy enough and retired enough to have that balance to survive in a game of life.
You know, not many people have had such a close relationship with Father Ted Hesburgh as you were able to have. So, in many ways, you've become a historian of his life. When you arrived in Notre Dame, he had long been established as Father Ted already. But I feel like you know him so well and his history. Why? I'll give you a very broad question. Why do you feel he was the right man at the right time for Notre Dame when they made him university president in 1952?
When Father Sorin came over from France at the age of 28 in 1842, he made Notre Dame become visible, and Father Hesburgh picked up the ball from him, in my opinion. It made what Notre Dame is today in many different ways. Academically, being co-ed, you got 1,000 men, 1,000 women in each class of 2,000 a year. But more importantly, when he wrote the Civil Rights Act for President Eisenhower, with 3 men from the South and 3 men from the North with him, his influence from that Civil Rights Act just touched so many people around the world. I became a disciple of Hesburgh because of what he believed in the spirituality of Notre Dame. And he was 6 years old in Syracuse, New York, when he decided to become a priest. Came here at the age of 16, and obviously when he died here a few years back, he left an impact on many. But more importantly, I think, was how he just had his own visual way of presenting spirituality to anybody in any place, any time. And yet, when he passed, that funeral, when it left the church, was incredible. From the Basilica to the priest cemetery on the way to St. Mary's, wall-to-wall people on both sides, especially women, because he's the guy that believed if the lady on the dome, Blessed Mother Mary, she's a woman, it's about time this place becomes a woman, and he made that happen. But I think he just had ways of doing things spiritually, and he was a game priest. He went 7-0 on the bench and beat 3 number 1 teams with San Francisco and Marquette and DePaul in double overtime. What's ironic about that one, I'm walking off the court with him after the game. I said a lot of prayers for this. Yeah, Digger, I was running out of Hail Mary. But he was that kind of priest that left an impact on me, which led to me and knowing and understanding people say, why do you hang around? I say the spirituality of Notre Dame.
When you were seeing him from afar at first, right, you got to know him personally so well once you became head coach and then even after both of you retired. But when you were watching him from afar, how influential of a figure was he, that were you almost intimidated when you first met him?
No, more of respect for who he was and what he was, especially in 1957 when he and those men wrote the Civil Rights Act for President Eisenhower. I felt that, and seeing Father Hesburgh and who he was and how he was as a person, he was the people's priest. As Mother Teresa was as a nun, he was this as a priest. Pope Paul VI, his buddy, Monsignor Mondavi from Milano, they used to hang out at Alfredo's restaurant, which was 4 blocks from the Vatican when they'd go over there for meetings. And he wanted to make him a cardinal. And Father Ted said, no, I'm a priest. And after even Pope Paul VI gave him the ring, he kept the ring. But as he said to the Pope's secretary, I'm a priest and I'm going to die as a priest. And I think the fact is that that's respect that he had for priesthood, especially being a CSC here at Notre Dame. And in the footsteps of Father Sorin and his vision, what Notre Dame became, Hesburgh did so many different things around outside of university and getting to know people and understand people. He had this way of saying things at a luncheon, and this woman came up to him after and says, Father, how do I get involved to make a difference in people's lives? And he said ABC, and after on the way back home, his driver Marty and Father Ted said, who's that lady? And he said to Father Ted, that's Joan Kroc. Well, he's never been to McDonald's in his life. Well, the next thing you know, he invites her for a football weekend. She comes, he drives around campus, says to her, in this building we do Europe, and then driving more in a golf cart. This building we do South America. And finally she says, you don't have one building? She says, no. He said, no, we just do it all around the different parts of the campus. She sends a check for $10 million when she got back from that game. Well, and then she come up for the groundbreaking ceremony here at Notre Dame a year later, and all the shovels and everything else, they break ground. Well, a year later, he goes into the development office and says, what's the interest on $10 million? 10%, good. Send a check for $1 million to Joan Kroc because we don't have one brick in the ground yet. Whoops. So that changed quick. Next thing you know, he's up fishing at Land O'Lakes where the priests hang out. And she calls him on his birthday, which is May 25th, and he says, thanks for calling, Joan. Yes, it's my birthday, and I'm fishing. She says, did you get my birthday card yet? He says, no, I'll get it back at the campus. I'll be back this weekend. He gets back to campus as a birthday card and a check for another $25 million. Next thing you know, when she passed a few years back, $50 million to Notre Dame. But that's how he was with people, and he can influence people to believe in this place even if they never had any contact with Notre Dame. And to have the national impact and international impact that this place has, Father Hesburgh, beyond his 35 years as president, made that tradition go on and make this place what it is today.
Great Digger Phelps joining us here on Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays. How about them for you once you came to Notre Dame? What kind of obvious role model did he become for you, and what did you learn from Father Ted, that the ways he taught you? You wrote a book a few years back about Father Ted and how you called it He Coached Me. Tell us some of those ways of how he coached you up in life.
Well, it was the influence of Father Hesburgh. He being a priest, he would get us ready mentally, physically, and spiritually for a game. And I was hired by Father Joyce and Father Hesburgh. They told me three things. Graduate your players. Don't break any NCAA rules. And then make sure that we're competitive. I said, what's competitive? I win 18 games a year. Well, my first year we go 6-20. My big brother Bob Knight beats us by 65 down in Bloomington, 94-29. But knowing that he was that kind of priest, and he set by example. And beyond the Civil Rights Act, what he did here at the university with people and putting people in different positions to make this place what it is today, to expand the academic side of what this place is. Our School of Business and our Graduate School of Business is as good as any school in the country. In a way, we get people ready for pre-med to become doctors or any type of medical personnel, men and women. That was another capacity. He just had this way of influence whoever he hired. Here's the ball, you play the game, but make sure you're getting these people ready for the game of life. And that was the most important thing that he taught me was, yeah, they play basketball, Digger, but from Notre Dame and that Notre Dame network, make sure you're getting them ready for the game of life and the life after basketball. When you look out today and we see some of my graduates, 56 played, all 56 graduate. I never let them down. In their life after basketball, well, we could get Jameer Jackson as an example from Peoria, Illinois. He's the CFO of Hertz today. Paxson ran the Bulls for 17 years after he played. Stan Wilcox is down in Indianapolis. He was on a freshman in '78, and he's now like number 3 in the NCAA. A kid like Mike Mitchell from San Bruno, California. He came in his freshman year. He played a South Miami, tore his knee up. His junior year, his same knee, other side got torn up. Didn't play for 2 years. The senior year, I make him captain. But more importantly, the other thing Hesburgh got me involved with is leadership. Give me somebody that's creative, somebody that knows how to be a risk taker, somebody has the right street smarts, and then somebody knows how to be a survivor. That's leadership, nothing to do with grades. Mitch graduated with a 2.5 in business, had the leadership qualities, and obviously was a survivor. And the fact is this, he's the only guy in 20 years I gave a game ball to because he went through when we beat San Francisco here the second time we played him when they were in the top 10, and he was captain of that team, and he had 15 points in that game. He's the only guy I gave a game ball into 20 years. Mitch goes on to become president of Nestle's USA Beverage. And that's what Hesburgh did with me to put me in a position to know what to do with these athletes and how to get them into a game of life after their sport, like basketball.
How about for your own faith journey? How did he help you in that regard?
Well, he always believed at the hidden crucifix in the woods, and a lot of people don't know where that is. But if you go up past Colombo Hall on St. Mary's Road and St. Mary's Lake, And before you make that turn to go past the cemetery where all the priests are buried, including Father Hesburgh, you take a right on Seminary Road. You go down the first light pole, and there's a crucifix there. And I say that's the Blessed Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene on her left, and Jesus on the cross. That's the sacred turf on this campus, and Father Hesburgh believed that. You can talk about Medjugorje in Yugoslavia or Fatima or Lourdes. No, she's here in spirituality at that position, and that's where I was when I found out I had prostate cancer. I was praying that morning, and my doctor calls and says, yes, you've got prostate cancer. Well, I look at Mary Magdalene, Jesus. I said, 3 of you know, didn't you? Now you're telling me get rid of it, take care of it. Well, I ended up going out to Seattle, to the University of Washington, where they have the cancer place to get it done. I had the surgery done and took care of that for the game of life, so to speak, for me to survive. But I think more importantly, when I look at Hesburgh and how he was and how he believed, I remember when he was his last week over at Holy Cross Hall, and it was just to watch him, knowing that it was coming and to see it happen. And when he passed, it just really hit me hard because I was a disciple of Hesburgh. He taught me a lot of different things and how to survive in the game of life, but more importantly, how to get other people to get their lives in order and put them in a positive direction. And I'll never forget the wake at the Basilica when they brought his casket in, the casket zone. I sat up in that first row about 3 o'clock that afternoon, and I just cried for 10 minutes because of what he was, who he was, and the impact he made in my life.
Where do you feel you are now in your faith?
Well, my faith, every day I'm over on the campus. Every morning I go over and say my morning prayers. And I'm at the Fatima House. I go by the hidden crucifix in the woods. And I go down by Moreau Seminary. And I say my prayers, especially hidden crucifix in the woods, to Mary Magdalene, pray for me. St. Jude, Sacred Heart, Holy Spirit, pray for me. The power of prayer is the will to win. That's, in essence, what I get accomplished. And praying for those in need, praying for those who are sick, praying for those who are deceased, and I do that over on campus, and that's part of the spirituality that Hesburgh left me with to make a difference. And, you know, if that takes 15, 20 minutes to do, well, there's 24 hours in a day. Just go do it, and don't make up excuses to why you can't pray.
One basketball-related question for you to let you go. Muffin McGraw going into the Ring of Honor, no-brainer?
No-brainer. She's special. I've never forget she came here. I think it was in '85. And what she did to build that program and make it what it is today, and to win 3 national championships and 9 Final Fours, she was an excellent recruiter, but more importantly, a game coach and can make things happen. And the rivalry with her and UConn, with Gino, was no different with my rivalry with the famous John Wooden at UCLA. You took up the challenge, and she built this program to where she's knocking off UConn and winning national championships. She deserves to be in the Ring of Honor. Should have been sooner. But more importantly, as she's left the game, as I have left the game, yeah, there's life after basketball. She's starting to do a little TV work now, and I did that for 20 years until I got tired of traveling. But now I just travel when I want to travel. Linda and I have our opportunities to do certain things when we want to do them. But I think more importantly, it's how I can just look back. The campus is right here. I still go to games to see what's going on, trying to get Mike Bray getting this thing going again. But I feel more importantly that Notre Dame has been a part of my life, but it's been the spirituality of Notre Dame that keeps me here, and I'll die here because this is what this place is.
Digger, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
He knew it was the last question. He's like, let me bring this back full circle for you. He was great. Digger Phelps, legendary. Can't believe he's 80 years old.
And lived here 50 years.
Yeah, that's the part
pretty
that's
awesome.
Pretty remarkable, right? He came here as 29, 30 years old when he got hired, and he's been here 50 years now. So, as he said, he's lived here and he's going to die here. So, great to have Digger on with us here this morning. Okay, up next, it is our game day sprint to kickoff as we preview Notre Dame versus Navy. Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays is back right after this.
Hi, this is Tony Catanzarite of Catanzarite Financial Services. If you'd like help planning your financial future, contact me at tony@catanzaritefinancial.com. This message isn't about my business. It concerns something far more important, uniting our country under God. My father and mother, Joe and Mary Catanzarite, lived their lives based on love of God, family, and country. Consider the question I recently posed to their 8-year-old great-grandson, my grandson, Rocco. If we all do our best to keep the 10 Commandments and treat others the way we'd like to be treated, how many problems would we have? He looked at me and said, not very many. Sometimes it takes a child to open our eyes, simplify things, and help us find the truth. So let's all do our best to keep the 10 Commandments, treat others the way we want to be treated, and let's unite our country under God. For Catanzari Financial Services, I'm Tony Catanzari.
Securities and advisory services offered through Harbor Investment Inc., member SIPC.
We know you like football. So do we. We're TireRack.com, and this is our version of a 2-minute drill, except it's only 30 seconds. TireRack.com has an enormous selection of tires. Not sure which ones to buy? Use our tire decision guide to find the right tires for your vehicle and the way you drive. Then get them shipped fast and free on all orders over $50. Shipping is in as little as 1 day. Free. TireRack.com ships to independent, recommended installers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Touchdown!
Indiana Physical Therapy is your choice for physical and occupational therapy. We treat all walks of life, from peewees to professionals, Olympians, and those in between. Schedule at one of our 21 locations without a doctor's order. We accept all insurance plans and have the highest credentialed and most reputable staff. Open 7 to 7 to schedule the same day you call. Indiana Physical Therapy. Call 260-209-2464 or visit indianapt.com, where people go to get better.
Welcome to Tom's Car Care Center.
Thanks. I'm here for an oil change. How long do you think it'll take? Need to finish up some work and then stop and pick up lunch somewhere.
Well, if you need to work, we have free Wi-Fi here at Tom's Car Care, and our Coffee Spot Cafe has great choices from soups to sandwiches, salads and wraps, and a great place to sit down and enjoy your food.
Really? I can do all that here at Tom's Car Care?
Sure. You can even run your car through the Waterworks car wash after we're done.
Wow, what a time saver. Thank you. Tom's Car Care has it all.
Tom's Car Care, the Coffee Spot Cafe, and the Waterworks car wash, located at 3201 Sugar Maple Lane in South Bend.
Welcome back on Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays. Angel DiCarlo alongside Kevin Downey and Ilya Glasman. It's our game day sprint to kickoff. Navy 2-6 on the season. Notre Dame ranked 10th in the college football playoff rankings. The Irish are 7-1. This is the 94th all-time meeting between these two schools. Notre Dame won 79 of those 93 previous matchups. Navy did beat Notre Dame most recently. 4 of their 13 wins have come in the last 15 years. 2007, 2009, 2010, and 2016. Of course, they did not play last year because of the pandemic. That was the first time since 1926 that Notre Dame and Navy had not played. I mentioned those 4 years that Navy won.
Yeah.
Usually it's a combination of Notre Dame's down and Navy's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame is not as good maybe as they were last year or in 2019 or 2018 or 2017, but they're not down.
Yeah.
And Navy is not good. So
that's the odd part of the equation is that usually
Navy's good.
Yeah,
they've been good for a
better,
while.
Yeah,
and
they have a really good coach.
Now their schedule is unusual in terms of the results. So, look, the media one jumps out to you. They lost to Marshall in week 1, 49-7.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like we could end the show right now based on just that number, right?
That's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago, and they came back, and the 3 good opponents they faced. Houston, they lost 28-20. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to SMU 31-24. And then the big one, 2 weeks ago, they lost to Cincinnati 27-20. So, okay.
And that was an interesting game too. That was I was able to see the Cincinnati and Tulsa game, their last opponent. And Cincinnati, just because obviously that's, Notre Dame's loss. It was interesting. I mean, they played them well.
Okay, so what did they look like a 2-6 team to you when you're watching them play there against Cincinnati? Did Cincinnati play poorly?
It was tight. The whole first half was close. I mean, it wasn't until like the third, fourth quarter that Cincinnati broke away, and even then, I mean, it was still 20-27.
Yeah, I mean, so do you feel like they're a much better team now than they were earlier? Are they better than their 2-6 record indicates, or do you see the stuff that still makes you go, nah, they're 2-6?
Yeah, they're better, but they're still 2-6.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing that stood out to me when I looked at their overall stats. They're averaging only 18.1 points per game.
Yeah,
you wouldn't expect Navy with a team that controls the ball the way they do to only average 18 points a game, and they give up 30 points a game. So, I mean, this feels like one of those years that Notre Dame just blows them out of the roof. I mean, that it's supposed to be. I'm not saying it will be, but anyway, now the difference here for Notre Dame is they're playing back-to-back high-powered offenses, USC and UNC. Now they go into a possession game against Navy, huge change. And next week they're going to face another high-powered offense in Virginia. No question, it's an adjustment, says Irish linebacker J.D. Bertrand and Notre Dame coach Brian Kelly.
It's definitely a change. I think the biggest thing is we know that we're going to have to be able to adjust to the speed of the game, and so you're not going to necessarily get that exact look and exact speed in practice, and so we know that through extra film watching and using things like resources like a walkthrough wall is where we're going to be able to pick up on that speed.
How important it is to be, so fundamentally sound, and you've got to win one-on-one matchups, and that's the thing. You're playing an offense that you don't see the rest of the year. We didn't see it last week, and we won't see it next week. So you have to shift gears. You're not doing things in your practice schedule that you normally do. So it's really getting out of a comfort zone more than anything else, and that's difficult because you're so used to getting into routines, and so Navy gets you out of that routine.
Honestly, I am not worried about today. I'm worried about the way today affects next week against Virginia. That's the biggest effect, I think, having to go back against that.
To speed it back up?
Yeah, to speed it back up. That's my biggest worry. But here's
I guess the old adage, one game at a time, Ange.
Well,
I'm worried about today.
I mean, this is like the ultimate.
They should win.
This is the ultimate trap game, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Marcus Freeman has played him before. We talked about that earlier.
That was a good point, by the way. Yep.
That helps, but I mean, they shouldn't lose. But
I still think the whole key of the game would be how Notre Dame's defense adjusts to Navy in their triple option and formations and motions, because I just believe that Notre Dame has better offensive skilled players that they will shine through. I think you and I we talked about at the beginning. There's going to be some time, if they want to, they can just throw it up. They're going to have a
Lorenzo Styles should have a 55-yard touchdown catch in the first quarter.
If he wants, whenever they want.
They should. Notre Dame's drives should not be 5-6 minutes. They should be 1 minute and 30 seconds. And they should score touchdowns ASAP. If they don't, that makes it problematic.
And I've always liked Navy's defense. They're sound. They're just aggressive, but they're overmatched.
Yeah, they're overmatched.
Especially in the perimeter skill.
Notre Dame may not score 49 points today because they might only get 8 possessions. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, the possession deal. That's crazy, right? Like, you only get so many times to get the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Navy's averaging 35 minutes of time possession versus 24 for their opponents this year. That matters. All right. Wow, this went quicker than I thought. Let's go to our predictions. What do you got, Kevin?
I'd say 42-21 Notre Dame. Also, pay attention for special teams. Could be exciting plays out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Good or bad.
Ilya, what do you got?
I watched back this morning the 2019 game when Notre Dame played Navy, and there was a specific person that gave Navy a lot of fits, and that was Chase Claypool. Now, I'm not saying he is like Chase Claypool, but Kevin Austin kind of has that same build as Chase Claypool, where he's tall and lengthy, and he could get that ball up. So watch out for him. He might score 4 touchdowns as well.
Well, I mean, whether it's Claypool or Styles or Lindsey,
Yeah,
I mean, or Kyron Williams, I mean, all those guys should have a field day. Ilya, did you give your score?
No, but my biggest key is for the defense to win on third down, so my prediction is 35-17 Notre Dame.
All right, 35-17. I don't know what I want to go with. I'm going to go 38-13 Notre Dame, 38-13. Okay. We are out of time. That will do it for Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays. Notre Dame FCU, where you bank does matter. For Kevin Downey, I'm Angel DiCarlo and Ilya Glasman. Notre Dame Navy kickoff at 3:30 today. 3:30 at Notre Dame Stadium. We'll be back with you next Saturday at 9 a.m. here on Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays.
Hi, this is Father Nate Wills. I'm a Holy Cross priest, a faculty member at Notre Dame's Alliance for Catholic Education, and one of the chaplains to the Notre Dame football team. This is a prayer that the players pray together at the end of our pregame Mass. Let us pray. Grant, we beseech you, O Lord our God, that we may enjoy continual health of mind and body, And by the glorious intercession of Mary, Our Lady, may we accept the joys and trials of this life and someday enter into eternal happiness. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Go Irish!
This has been a presentation of Redeemer Radio Sports. Thanks for joining us for Notre Dame Federal Credit Union's Irish Sports Saturdays. Enjoy today's game.
All things Catholic in Michiana. 95.7 FM WRDI, Napanee, South Bend, Elkhart. Welcome home to your family of faith.
We welcome your questions for our local shows. Perhaps you'd like to hear Bishop Rhodes answer a question directly submitted by you on his weekly show, Truth and Charity. Or maybe you'd like to pick the brain of our doctors on Dr. Doctor. You can do that. Just text your question on the Holy Cross College text line to 260-436-9598. Include the show you are submitting your question for, and then be sure to tune in on future episodes to hear it answered. That's 260-436-9598.
Tom's Car Care Center in South Bend is about a lot more than oil changes and car washes. Parishioners at Corpus Christi Church, Tom's Car Care Center is family owned and operated and has served our community since 1988, and we thank them for proudly supporting Redeemer Radio. So stop in for an oil change, grab a sandwich or coffee while you wait, and drive off with a car wash to have your car looking new again. Tom's Car Care Center, the Coffee Spot Cafe, and the Waterworks Car Wash, located at 3201 Sugar Maple Court in South Bend.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866-AVE-MARIA or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
The world tells us freedom is found by openly living our life in whatever manner feels good to us, and that those behaviors should be accepted and encouraged, even when they go against the Lord and our nature. Eden Invitation is a community of Christians who are passionate about learning who they are at the core of their being. People with same-sex attraction and gender discordance are offered support and love. Find resources to live in authentic freedom by going to EdenInvitation.com.
Racism is an intrinsic evil, which means it always goes against the good of the human person and their relationship with God. The USCCB provides this prayer to overcome the sin of racism. Mary, friend and mother to all, through your Son, God has found a way to unite himself to every human being, called to be one people, sisters and brothers to each other. We ask for your help in calling your Son, seeking forgiveness for the times when we have failed to love and respect one another. We ask for your help in obtaining from your Son the grace we need to overcome the evil of racism and build a just society. We ask for your help in following your Son so that prejudice and animosity will no longer infect our minds, our hearts, but will replace with love that respects the dignity of each person. Mother of the Church, the Spirit of your Son, Jesus, warms our heart. Pray for us.
This is Andrea Serrani, and you're listening to The Daily Refill. We all spend more and more time online, having access to the world at our fingertips. But for all its usefulness, it can cause a lot of problems for Christians, not least because it can be hard to act like a Christian online. Well, Meg Hunter-Kilmer from